angels, it's Haley Reese, and today's video is something a little bit different because I'm finally coming on here and talking with you guys about a kind of conspiracy slash like something that I've been thinking about for a super long time, and part of me just really wants to know if this happens to you guys too and kind of talk about the creepy factors behind it. Basically, I think that my phone is listening to my conversations, and not just listening in the sense of like my phone's sitting here and it just like is listening. No, like I think my phone is listening and processing the personal conversations that I'm having within my own home and the personal conversations that I'm having day to day, and I have legitimate reasoning behind this. So if you guys want to hear what I'm talking about or judge whether or not I'm absolutely insane, or maybe, just maybe, hear what you've been thinking too, then all you've got to do is just keep on watching today's video because this really freaks me out. So we all know the minute that we get a cell phone, we're basically signing off our rights to like secrecy and locations, because we are transmitting cell phone signals that if you were wanted by the FBI or the police or something like that could be traced back to where you are sitting currently right now. And we also know that when we have a phone like this and when we use a lot of the applications that we do, we basically grant a lot of our personal information, a lot of our photos, and access to these different applications to our personal stuff and our personal information. But what a lot of us don't think of is that by owning one of these fancy schmancy devices, we are basically allowing the government into our personal conversation and into our homes. Now, in the conspiracy theory world, it's no surprise that people think the government listens to absolutely anything and absolutely everything. And to be entirely honest with you, they have the technology and the rights, and even if they don't have the rights, they have the abilities to do so. I've just always thought, what on earth would they want to know about me? Like the average person, there's 7 billion of us on this planet. The average person doesn't have a lot going on that the government's going to be really sitting in and listening on. Like they're not going to be sitting there like, oh, Susie got a boyfriend, oh, they're fighting, oh, she's feeding her cats. Like the average day-to-day life isn't going to be of interest to the government. So I truly never thought that I would fall victim to having someone constantly listening or something constantly listening to all of my conversations. That was until I would have personal conversations about things that I was not searching on my phone, things that I was not texting about, and things that I was kind of just thinking in the moment, starting to show up in like advertisements on Instagram and Facebook and other like social media applications. So what do I mean by this? Basically, I'm going to give you about 3 solid examples of things that I know could not be cookie related and aren't related to web searches that I've done. Because I mean, obviously all of us know that when we're searching on the internet's processing this and therefore putting advertisements in front of us that relate to the keywords that we're searching. That is no brainer. But they're not supposed to be advertising things that you've talked about in private with this little guy in the presence of that conversation. It just doesn't make sense. So the first time that I noticed this happening, it was about a year ago. And I specifically remember that I was driving down the street with somebody and I passed by a Harvey's and they had this really good deal. Now I never, very rarely, once in a blue moon my whole life, eat meat. Like I'm not a huge meat eater. Like now I'm trying to cut out all animal products, but my whole entire life I've never really ate any sort of meats. Like fish was the only thing that I ever ate. So I wasn't even thinking for myself, which is why I know that I had never looked at this online and that it wouldn't be in my suggestions. And I had turned and looked at this advertisement and I turned back to the person in the car with me and I said, maybe we'll come and get that for you and Uncle Kelly for dinner. I just threw that out there. It was a 1-second thought. I said it out loud. That was that. My trusty phone was in my car. That night, I'm out back. We decided that we were just gonna eat at home. Everything's all good. I go on Instagram and this exact advertisement for this exact thing was saying, hey, we know you want this burger. Come get it, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, that could be totally coincidental. So I kind of brushed it off as, wow, that's so strange. Like literally under an hour ago, I was looking at this and now it's in my advertisements. But I didn't think much of it because it could be completely coincidental. Then it gets a little bit stranger. So about 6 months ago, I'm with my one really, really good friend, and she's telling me about this new naturopathic medication that she's on that like I've never heard of, you guys, in my whole entire life. She says the name of it and I had no idea what that meant. Like, you know how medicine is, like there's so many medications and there's so many naturopathic medications, which is basically like a natural medication for those of you who aren't familiar with naturopathic medicine. But basically, she was telling me about this and how it helped her lungs a ton, and she said the specific name of it. That night, you guys, I was on Facebook and that specific medicine was being advertised on the side of my Facebook. And I'm like, okay, she went to a specific naturopathic doctor. They prescribed this specifically for her. I've never heard of anybody else on this. I'd never even heard of the name of it until today. We have this conversation in the presence of my phone, and all of a sudden, I'm getting advertisements for this particular medication. It just like threw me off. Now this has happened so many times, I can't even tell you guys. I've been inside of Kate Spade and I've been like, oh my gosh, I really like this Kate Spade bag, and like a day later it's Kate Spade being advertised. I've had so many strange coincidences, but it wasn't until recently that I realized, okay, this is not a coincidence. This is so strange. So as you guys know, I've been testing the waters into a vegan lifestyle and a vegan diet, and I'm not putting too much pressure on myself to do it completely overnight. I'm just trying to make better choices each and every day for both myself, the planet, the animals, and I'm just trying to incorporate that into my lifestyle. I haven't completely just changed everything yet because it's a process and I'm human and I'm doing the best that I can. And I already don't eat a ton of meat. But I started having a lot of vegan conversations and I had not searched anything vegan yet at this particular point in time. I hadn't watched any videos on it, nothing. And it was the first day that I had started talking to my mom about that I really thought that I was going to test out this vegan lifestyle, but I didn't know, where I was going to shop or what I was going to do because, it's not like Los Angeles where there's, vegan restaurants and options everywhere. Although I do have to say Toronto's really getting up there, but it wasn't as, it's not as big as it is out in California right now. So I was sitting there and I was talking about this with my mom, and the conversation finishes and drifts somewhere else, and I'm browsing on Instagram, and all of a sudden I get an advertisement for, thinking of going vegan? We now offer vegan options, and it's this like little grocery store, health food store near my house. Right then and there, I looked at my mom, I looked at my phone, I looked back at my mom, and I said, this cannot be a coincidence. It does not make sense that I hadn't even searched anything yet. It was the same day that I had started having this conversation with my mom about, I'm thinking about going vegan. I really want to test the waters, but I don't know where I'm going to get these things, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, poof, my phone answers the question for me. But I hadn't even typed in that question. So I started to do a little bit of research, like, is my phone listening to me all the time? And upon researching, I realized that, yeah, my phone basically is listening all the time in a very legal way. Siri is listening to me all the time. I'll give you guys a perfect example. I'm having a conversation here right now. Siri is right here like this, and all of a sudden I go, hey Siri, and she pops up. So she's listening at all times because all it takes is a hey Siri and she's there. So in order for that technology to work, the phone has to be listening. And I know people will say, oh, she's programmed to register her name. But in order to register a name, it has to be listening for a name. It's not just gonna like, oh, she said the words and pop out. It has to be listening, and it has to recognize that my tone of voice has changed or that I've said Siri or things like that. So it just takes a simple conversation, talking to my Reese's Pieces, hey Siri, talking again, and there she is. I don't know, you guys, it's been kind of a strange thing for me. I brought it up to my uncle and I brought it up to my grandma and I brought it up to a whole bunch of people, and they all looked at me and they were like, Haley, we feel the same way. We feel like our phone is listening too. And all of a sudden they all had these stories of times they were talking around their phones and all of a sudden they're getting advertisements for the same type of thing. So it really is kind of this thing that a lot of people are thinking, because today when I thought about coming on here and talking about this, I was like, am I gonna sound absolutely insane? And so I started to Google, like, do other people experience these things? And upon Googling it, I realized that there's a lot of people that feel like their phones are listening to them and that advertisements are catering towards, you know, what they're talking about. I just don't know for what purpose. Is it for advertisement purposes? I mean, clearly that's working to that advantage, but is it for more than that? Is it for some sort of control? I have no idea. All I know is I am 10,000% convinced that my phone or Siri, or both of them, maybe they're the same thing, are listening to me when I have conversations. And the creepiest part of all is if Siri's always listening and she's the mastermind behind all of this, she's listening to me right now talk in front of my camera to my Reese's Pieces about this, and that's a pretty unsettling thought. Well, you guys, this video is basically me expressing what I think's going on, expressing that I know that my phone is listening. Legally, Siri is listening. Like, I know for a fact that I've consented for Siri to listen, because when I say, hey Siri, she pops up, and she just popped up. You see what I mean? So, I mean, at the end of the day, I do know that they're listening to me through my phone, but for what purpose, I don't know. So I wanted to come on here, you guys, and ask you, do you guys feel like your phone is listening to you? Do you feel like things that you verbally say that you have not searched, that are not cookie related, that are not web browser related, that you have simply verbally said? Please leave a comment down below letting me know so that I don't feel so insane. And if you have any idea why they would be doing this, please also leave a comment down below, because I'm so curious. I think there's a lot of different possible reasons that this could be happening or is happening, and I want to know what you guys think. So please don't forget to let me know in the comments below if this has happened to you, or you have a conspiracy theory why it's happening, because the whole entire idea of it kind of freaks me out and kind of makes me feel a little invaded. Well, you guys, that is it for today's video. I'm sorry that it was kind of a strange one. I just thought that it was scary and weird and creepy, and I had to come on here and talk about it with you guys, because once I get something in my head that I need to come on and talk about, you know I have to do it. That's why so many of my videos are impulsive, but you guys seem to enjoy that about me, and that seems to be why a lot of you are such amazing Reese's Pieces and clicking that subscribe button and that thumbs up, and it means the world. So on that note, if you're new to my channel or you are just not yet subscribed, please go ahead and click that subscribe button if you do enjoy it. I mean, I'm posting every day from now till Christmas. I really don't want you to miss when I upload. And please give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it. It makes me feel less crazy and it makes my heart really, really happy. Remember, my loves, do all things with kindness. And until next time, I love you.